Good morning, everybody. Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany is joining us today, Thursday, March 17th, 2022. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching Breakfast with Tiffany, a monthly live video podcast with our representative where we discuss all things going on in D.C. in the 7th Congressional District. We do these once a month, and you can find a recording of all of our previous conversations on our website at DrydenWire.com, our Facebook page, but it's probably easier just to go to our YouTube channel. That's where we store all of those. It's just youtube.com/DrydenWire. Also, if you have a question for our congressman, or if you have a topic that you would like to suggest for us to discuss, let us know in the comments. With that being said, Tom, good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm really good, Ben. And, to our listeners, sorry we didn't hit the regular time. We were supposed to be on last week. I think it was today's Thursday, right? Yeah, so it was a week ago. Sorry, I was on an airplane and was not able to join Ben as a result. But it's great to be here today. Hey, and Ben, are you wearing green today? Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Well, that's today. Am I supposed to be doing something or buying something for someone? Oh, boy.
Ben forgot St. Patrick's Day.
Wait, you're not wearing green either. Are you?
You can't see my socks.
Socks. All right, fine. I didn't realize that. I heard. Oh, wait. No, that did come up. It was on the news. The news was in the other room this morning, and heard someone, the news people, say that it was the fourth most, like in terms of like alcohol purchases, like the busiest day. It was like the fourth busiest day of the year is St. Patrick's Day, but they didn't tell me the other three. So I hate it when they do that. So I was trying to guess it. I'm like, well, it's Super Bowl has to be on there and New Year's Eve. But what's another one? What's one more that would be in front of St. Patrick's Day just in terms of alcohol sales? You have a guess?
4th of July?
Maybe. I'll have to look it up.
Oh,
so I guess
New Year's Eve.
Yeah, New Year's Eve. Super Bowl. Maybe 4th of July. I don't know. Anyway, we're spending way too much time on that. So it's been now 5 weeks since the last time that you were on, again, because we couldn't do the show last week for our regular scheduled time. So what's new with you?
Been busy. Been out in Washington, D.C. quite a bit over the last month. And hopefully we'll make it home tomorrow on Friday and be home for a week. And so that'll be a great thing. It's always good to get back home. But yeah, been busy out here. Lots of stuff going on, of course, and we'll get into it, I'm sure. Of course, Ukraine is dominating the news, but lots of stuff that's going on in the world.
Yeah, you were in...
And that's a great map you have behind us for those people that are viewing this today live. That is a terrific map that Ben has behind him today.
Yeah, that's all credit. Cool. Well, all credit should always be given to my wife for anything and everything. Like my existence should just be given credit to my wife. But she's the one that had that. And actually, when the sun is out, I mean, it's daytime, but when it's cloudy here, when the sun comes in, that whole thing just lights up. It is so cool.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. But I'll take credit for it. That's fine. George not watching. You were just in Shell Lake relatively recently, a couple 3 weeks ago, because my parents had my mom and dad Terry and Diane Dryden went to something, and they said that they saw you there. I think Adam Jarko was there. I'm not sure what it was for, but you were just in our area. So it's like if you're in D.C. a lot, you just said you've been spending a lot of time out there. I still see you in our area all the time, like on social media. You're always at another event.
Yeah, always lots of stuff to do. And so some of that was on political stuff with the Republican Party of Washburn County. And they put on an event, attended that, and gave a little presentation, gave a speech, and lots of other good people there, including Attorney General candidate Jarko.
Yeah, that's probably why I wasn't invited. I'm not a Republican, I don't think. I don't know.
Well, you could come. Anybody can come if they want to.
All right, fine. That's why I'll just send my mom and dad down there. So I want to ask you something.
Great to see you.
Thank you. I'm sure they appreciate that. I know how much respect my dad has for you, and I think that's equally shared. But I saw something this morning I want to ask you about, because when I saw this yesterday, I was like, what's going on now? And it was this was from The Hill and this was actually this morning, and the headline was, House leaders want to take up daylight saving time bill. And again, it's like, what's wrong with what we have now? So I just want to, a little bit out of here. According to the article, again, it's on thehill.com, a proposal to make daylight saving time permanent is finding bipartisan support in the House after its passage in the Senate. It's unclear when or if the lower chamber will take up the legislation. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, your BFF, told The Hill she supports doing away with the semi-annual time switch, but she wouldn't provide further details about when the House could take up the matter. Pelosi said, quote, I, myself, support making daylight saving time permanent. I think it's not going to be much of an issue for us. So what's going on? I mean,
Yes.
you must be aware of this as well. So what is this?
Yeah, for sure. So the United States Senate passed a bill this week to make daylight savings time permanent. In other words, the time that we're on right now, make that permanent. And so that comes over to the House now. And so this is news to me that Speaker Pelosi is saying good things about it and may want to schedule it on the calendar. You know, this is actually what I really want to hear from my constituents, because I don't have a strong preference one way or another. All I know as a parent with kids as they were growing up, it's a real pain, especially when you had to spring ahead and you lose that hour. I mean, it just disrupts everybody's routine, and it's just a pain.
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess I'm generally favorably disposed to setting a time, and let's leave it at that. But which one should it be? Should it be daylight savings time like now, where we moved our clocks ahead an hour, or should it be the normal, what we would call central daylight time? That's the thing that I'd like to hear from people, because it certainly does have an impact, especially with the seasonal changes when we get to where we have not a lot of light, December 21st, to where we have a lot of light, June 21st. And so I urge people to comment on that, both here or contact my office. I'd like to hear from people on this issue.
I think we'll even put up something on our Facebook page later today, a poll or something, and maybe give some examples. So that would mean if it was daylight saving time, we stuck with this time, then it would be on December 21st, sun would come up about this time, go down about this time, just so we kind of all understand. And then on June 21st, it would come up at this time, go down at this time, and then show the other one. Because I'm not really sure. I just thought that was so interesting because it went so fast. I heard about it yesterday, and now all of it passes the Senate, and now it's going to the House, and I feel like this should be something that we should all be discussing, maybe just a little. So
yeah, absolutely, and that's why I would love to hear from my constituents in regards to this. And so to a certain extent, the way Congress is being run right now, daylight savings time is the most important thing we can deal with when you got inflation, the border, the Ukraine, and just everything else, crime in the streets, everything else going on, and they're making a priority out of daylight savings time. Anyhow.
Yeah, bizarre. Hey,
send your comments into us.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, I really don't have. Yeah, we'll get to that next time. I'll get you some information. So the next time that you're on, will actually be like 3 weeks from now, since we're a week behind right now, and I'll let you know.
Sounds like daylight savings time.
Yeah, right. So someone sent in a question, and it was a longer question, so I can't put it up on the screen here. But the ultimate question, well, there's a lot of stuff that was prefaced and a whole bunch of information, but at the end, it was a question about CAFO. And the question is, what is your stand on the proliferation of CAFOs into the St. Croix watershed?
So first of all, for those that aren't familiar, let's define the acronym CAFO. That's a concentrated animal feeding operation. I think that's right. But it's referring to the big farms. When it gets over a certain number of animal units, it's defined as a CAFO, and there's additional regulation that goes with that. And I'm sure the listener that sent that in understands the detail of this perhaps better than I do. So from the federal level, as your congressman, I don't have much to say about that, because it is not generally within our bailiwick, the permitting and things like that. It's almost all at the state and local level. And I just think it's important for people to be involved with that, to make sure that you're being heard, because you can have an impact at the local level. I've seen CAFOs that have been proposed, and local people have gotten very involved, both pro and con, and I think that all makes a difference. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the Department of Natural Resources has most of the permitting authority in regards to that. And I think it was a couple of years ago when I was in the legislature that we shifted even additional authority to the Department of Natural Resources. I can't remember. It was a few years ago when I was in the state legislature. So both the Department of Agriculture, as I think about this, and the Department of Natural Resources have authority over this. And so, I think what our listener is highlighting here is they have real concern about the number of animal units that should be in a single location. And people should be sure to express their concerns to both state and local officials in regards to that. And ultimately, the state has most of the permitting authority in regards to that. I would suspect that there is some local permitting authority also.
Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please.
So, I had a chance to see the input that this listener sent in, and that you forwarded to me. And in the final paragraph, it says, many of your constituents are concerned about air and quality. And I would just alter that a little bit, where it says many of my constituents. I would say all of my constituents have a concern with both air and water quality. People, regardless of political affiliation, regardless, male, female, whatever, people are concerned about the environment, especially in northern Wisconsin, and they want to make sure that things like this are done correctly. And, that kind of segues into a bill that I introduced just a few weeks ago over in the Eau Claire area. It's called the Farm Act, the Future Agriculture Retention and Maintenance Act. Long way of saying the Farm Act. And what we're seeing is a proliferation of wind and solar farm permits that are being considered in western and northwestern Wisconsin. And the bill that I introduced, called the Farm Act, would remove the subsidies, the federal subsidies, for these wind and solar farms. I'm deeply concerned that you're going to see a proliferation of these wind and solar farms taking productive agriculture land out of production. And it's being done because there's these huge tax breaks that are given to the wind and solar developers, and then they're able to pay much higher rents than normal. Like if you talk to an average farmer, I think they pay $150, $200 an acre when they rent somebody's farmland. Well, they're offering rents of $800 to $1,000 an acre, these wind and solar developers, and the only way they can do that is these big tax subsidies that are put out there. I don't think that's the way it should be. I don't have a problem if people want to develop wind and solar farms, but you should not get a tax break on the back of the taxpayers of the United States. So I object to it from that standpoint, and this would take those subsidies away. I believe that you should be able to develop these if you want to, but you should be able to do it without doing it with a big tax subsidy that comes from the federal government. It really concerns me about this because it's going to, much like urban sprawl that has taken some of our productive agriculture land out of production, this will do the same thing. And if there's one thing we do good in America as far as production, is agricultural products. We feed the world, and we need to continue to be able to do that, reducing the amount of farmland that we have here in Wisconsin as a result of these artificial subsidies. I don't think is a good thing. I would add just one other thing real quickly here, Ben, and that is this drives up our electrical costs also, because wind and solar, while they're only on about 20% of the time. You think about it, like solar at night, you're not going to have it. When you have snowstorms that cover up those solar panels, they don't operate. When you have temperatures that are below about minus 25, wind turbines shut off. And so the time when we need them the most, they're not operating. So we're only getting production out of them about 20 to 25% of the time. I refer to it as intermittent generation, and that's not what a 21st century society needs. We need to know that the lights are going to be on whenever we choose to have them on 100% of the time. You don't do that with wind and solar.
So you said it's a Farm Act, and
Yep.
what was the acronym? What did it stand for?
Future
Future.
Agriculture
Got that one.
Retention and Maintenance Act.
Retention and maintenance. So so I want to know kind of where we are with this and how this stuff works for other people who don't know how this stuff gets done. Like you introduced it, so now where are we? What happens next? But first, when you come up with these, or whoever comes up with like the names of these acronyms, did it just? I mean, what are the odds? You're like, we need something for future agriculture retention and is it maintenance or management? I didn't write it down very well.
Maintenance.
Maintenance. And you're just like, hey, that actually spells farm. That's perfect. Or is it no? We start with the word and then we create the acronym. Which one is it? Come on.
Well, we know what we want to do with this in terms of it's an agriculture issue. So we build it from there, and we thought farm worked really good. If you remember a number of months ago, if you remember a number of months ago, I mean, we think about this stuff, and we did something called the ACRE Act, the American Civil Rights and Equality Act. That was when the Biden administration signed a bill into law that was passed through Congress. I did not vote for it. That was in the American Recovery Plan. It actually discriminated based on race against farmers across America. If you're a white farmer, you did not qualify for some of the programs that were included in the American Recovery Plan. So we introduced a bill called the ACRE Act, American Civil Rights and Equality Act, that would overturn that. And by the way, we've been, while the bill hasn't passed, we've been successful in the courts in being able to stop that, which was, I mean, it's a horrible concept. I'm digressing at this point, Ben, but it was a horrible act that was put into law there that discriminated against certain farmers based on race. And I think the American people really despise that type of stuff. And I know I really disagree with it, and that's why we introduced the bill. But anyhow, it goes back to acronyms. We try to make them germane to the issue that we're discussing.
All right. So now, where is this in the process? So you introduce something, or I'm not sure if I'm using the correct terminology or wordage here, but this bill, it's the Farm Act. Then what happens? Do you submit that to, I don't know, a committee or something? How does this process work? And we don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but how? Just kind of walk us through how this is going to look going forward.
Yes, it'll be submitted, and leadership decides where they want to. The speaker ultimately decides which committee that it will go to, and they send it to the committee chairman, and the committee chairman decides whether to have a hearing on the bill. And I would bet in regards to this bill, we probably will not get a hearing, but it'll be good to get it out there, and hopefully next session, if we can take back the majority, I will be trying to convince my colleagues that we should have a hearing on this bill. And then once you get a hearing, it goes through the whole legislative process, committee, and then on to, if it can make it through committee, then it gets a vote before the full House of Representatives. If it would pass there, then it goes on to the United States Senate, and they decide whether they're going to support it also. Hey, there's a good question that was just submitted by Dan.
Yeah,
he
just
says,
bring that up.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, better to buy oil from Russia. So he's bringing up in regards to the wind and solar. So, no, it'd be better to get that energy produced right here in America by either natural gas or oil or nuclear or hydroelectric power, which I know something about, having been a former dam man. And it would be better to get it from those sources because they are on almost 100% of the time. There's nothing that's 100%, but they're available 80 to 90% of the time. One of the big concerns with wind and solar is it's only available about 20% of the time. So what has to happen is you have to have backup as a result of that. And there's a backup project that's already being proposed up in Superior called the Nemadji Trail Project. That's a natural gas-fired electrical plant that's proposed to be built a couple years from now. Now they're going through the permitting process trying to get that done. But you have to have that, what we call base load backup power available so when the wind and solar isn't available. So you end up building these electrical generation plants whether you have wind and solar or not. And so taxpayers end up paying a subsidy, and it also oftentimes goes to a developer who is politically favored, and we end up with the agricultural land not being available for production. I think that's a lose-lose for America.
Mm.
I think there's a much better way to go about it.
There was a oh, perfect. So Dan actually brought exactly what I was going to mention here. There was something, I don't know when it was. It was recently. I don't know what that means. A few days, a week, 2 weeks ago, relatively recently here, that you had voted on something. I think I saw it on your page, or I saw somewhere that you voted. Oh, I can't remember what it was. I think something about the oil, and that I think maybe to keep buying oil from them or something. I can't remember what it was. And there was like 14 or 15 people. So this bill passed or didn't pass or something, but you were kind of in that, I don't know if minority is the right word there, but what was that about? I think that's what Dan is referring to here.
Yeah. No. I'm sure that's what Dan's referring to, and it's what you're trying to get at here. There was a vote a week ago to prohibit purchases of Russian oil here in America. I was one of only 17 people that voted against that bill. And the reason I voted against it is because it actually would cause oil prices to go even higher, affecting middle-class Americans. Americans generally, we just end up paying a higher price for oil. And so the notion was, let's not import this Russia oil. Let's penalize them for what they're doing in the Ukraine. By the way, I hope everybody's keeping the Ukrainians in their thoughts and prayers. It's horrible what Putin and Russia is doing there. But Vladimir Putin is going to sell his oil anyhow. There's a world market. In fact, it wasn't shortly after that vote that the Chinese announced, yeah, we'll buy that oil from Russia. So by voting for this embargo on Russian oil, we really didn't. It felt good. It seemed good. But did it really do anything in the marketplace? Not really. So I don't really, I'm not a big fan of voting for bills like that just make us feel good. What would be much better for us to do is to produce it in this country. And over the last year, I mean, let's just be very blunt here. The Biden administration has said we are going to become less dependent on fossil fuels. What has happened as a result of that? We're paying $2 a gallon more for gasoline. I mean, we went from about $2.30 a gallon up in my neck of the woods to $4.30 a gallon. Propane, I paid 80 cents a gallon, as well as my neighbors did, 80 cents a gallon in August of 2020. Paid $1.50 a gallon August of 2021. What I'm hearing from my neighbors, they're paying $2.40, $2.50 a gallon now for their propane for home heating. Mm-hmm. So that's the result of this war against fossil fuels. And what I believe we should do is go to energy independence like we had a couple years ago, and that would be much more effective. And by the way, it would be much better for us on a national security standpoint too, because Vladimir Putin making $60 a barrel on crude oil versus $100 a barrel for crude oil defunds his war machine. What do you think he has done with this, the crude oil, which is really their only export? They have a few other things, but their main export is oil and natural gas. They're making far more on it now, and he's funding his war machine because we've chosen not to be energy independent in America. We need to go back to that, because not only does it create jobs, it also provides economic security for people, but it also provides national security when we are energy independent.
Speaking of Ukraine, there have been some reports, I think even out of the White House as well, regarding China and their relationship with Russia. Are you concerned at all about China and kind of, I won't say partnering with, but working with Russia a little bit in this regard? Is that a concern for you?
Yeah, without getting too deep into it, it was the main foreign policy goal of Henry Kissinger. For those people that remember, he was Secretary of State under Richard Nixon, grand poobah in regards to national security interests, and really formulated much of our foreign policy through the late 20th century. One of the things that he really believed in was that you want to keep China and Russia apart. You want them to not be getting their interests closely aligned where they ally together, and you end up with us against the Chinese and the Russians. He believed our foreign policy should be, let's make sure Russia and China are not too closely aligned. And I generally agree with that. Now, for people that are out there that are really familiar with this stuff, they'll say, you simplified it. Well, yes, I did just simplify it. But I think that's very important. And what we're doing now is perhaps pushing Russia and China together, because China does not have much for natural resources. Why was China interested when we bailed out of Afghanistan all of a sudden last August? Why was China right there to get in there? Because of the rare earth minerals that they need for their manufacturing in China. And what do they like about Russia? They like the immense forests that Russia has, the incredible amount of natural gas and oil that they pump. China wants all those things, and they need it to fire their economy. And that's why it's been such a big mistake on our part in terms of both foreign policy and energy policy. What we've done over the last year plus, we've really given China and Russia a reason to come together as allies, but also to be able to pay them more for their natural resources like oil. They're making $100 a barrel now rather than $60 a barrel. That's why America should be energy independent.
Well, and my mom comes here for Bible studies every Sunday with our family. And we were actually just talking about, well, I don't want to get into all that, but yeah, Russia and China together. If you read the New Testament, or if you are ever interested in learning more about the end times, yeah, there's a connection there too. But that's for another day. I would be remiss not to bring up.
I'll let you and your mom talk about that. I'll leave that for you guys.
You got it. Also, when I was Googling, because before you come on, you just try to Tom Tiffany, Google, go. There was something, I didn't write down the headlines, I should have. It was something about a lawsuit that was, your name was on it, Representative Fitzgerald, and I think Senator Ron Johnson. Obviously, if there is a lawsuit or anything that's going on, you probably can't say much about it or anything at all, but I'd be remiss not to at least ask you about that.
Yeah. So there's a lawsuit that was filed to try to keep me off from the ballot here this coming election. So nomination papers start mid-April in Wisconsin for those people that want to be running this November. And I'm certainly plan on doing that. And so there's a group of people, small group of people that filed a lawsuit that said you can't be on the ballot because you voted against certification on January 6th. And first of all, it's frivolous and it's a lot of political theater, and it's just disappointing. I look at some of the names of the people on the lawsuit, and I see a number of failed candidates there. So what they're trying to do, rather than getting into the arena of debate and put your name on the ballot and let's run, they're saying we're going to use the courts to try to keep you off from the ballot. That's about all I can say at this point, because it is in litigation at this point, and but it's a frivolous lawsuit, and that's how it's going to turn out in the end, I believe.
Fair enough. I also posted something from you. It was a press release from you regarding wolves. So this is since the last time that you were on, and I feel like every time that we do these shows, we're talking about wolves, and I'm laughing because it just seems like we're. So what was that about, and where are we right now? Because it seems like it just goes back and forth, and it's so. What's the latest update on wolves?
Yeah, federal judge once again delisted wolves, not allowing state management. I believe the State Department of Natural Resources should be allowed to manage the wolf population across the country, including in each individual state like Wisconsin. We had another federal judge from one of the coasts, this one from the West Coast. Last time the judge was from the East Coast, that knows nothing about wolf or wildlife management, and they insert themselves on the side of the animal rights extremists, and so came down on their side, and as a result, went and listed the wolf. And so I sent a letter to the chairman of the Natural Resources Committee, Representative Grijalva from Arizona, urging him to have a hearing on my bill to delist the wolf in the state of Wisconsin. And the wolf has a place on the landscape. but their numbers have far exceeded what the management goals are by the scientists at the Fish and Wildlife Service. And there should be a wolf season in Wisconsin. Wisconsin hunters are good managers of our wildlife in Wisconsin, and our Department of Natural Resources should be allowed to be able to manage them.
All right. Anything else that you wanted to? We're already at 30 minutes. We usually always go over, but still, oh shoot, here's a good one for you. Permanent standard time is the way to go. Nature reacts to sunlight. Yep. So the GMT is
known as known.
Can't move the stones at Stonehenge.
Hey, thanks,
Okay.
Richard, for the comment. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, I still don't really understand what it means. GMT. So was he for the keeping this? I don't know. I'll have to read it later. What do you have coming up, or anything else, first of all, that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to?
Yeah. So I got to pull this up here. So we're going to do listening sessions next week. We try to do them on a regular basis. This one's going to have an emphasis on energy. Big issue for people right now, whether they're heating their homes, driving their cars, whatever. And in your neighborhood, we are going to do one in, I'll read these off here, New Richmond in St. Croix County. We're going to be there on Thursday, March 24th, 3 to 4 p.m. And by the way, we'll be putting this out to the media and other folks here. If we didn't do that yesterday, I think I'll come out today. And so anyhow, New Richmond, Thursday, 24th, 3 to 4 o'clock. We're going to be up in Superior on Friday morning, the 25th, 8:30 to 9:30 at the Elks Lodge. Ashland, we're going to be in Ashland County also on Friday, the 25th, 12:30 to 1:30, American Hotel. And then we are going to be in Barron County in Rice Lake at the at UW Eau Claire, Barron County, at the Blue Hills Lecture Hall in Rice Lake. That one is going to be late in the day, 4:30 to 5:30 next Friday, the 25th. People can just go to our website. It'll be out in the media, stuff like that.
Yep.
And these are listening sessions. We're going to really focus on the energy side of the issues because that's what a lot of people want to talk about these days.
And I saw that on your website yesterday, and I think I put it in our U.S. World Headline links or in the morning. For people who don't know, what is your website? Or I should say, do you know what your URL for your website is?
Go to tiffany.house.gov. Okay. I think, I'm pretty sure that's it. Tiffany.house.gov. Go there.
Okay. And then you also have email newsletter thing that you send out. How do people get that? How often does it come out?
Tiffany Telegram every Friday. It comes into your inbox. You can see what's going on in Washington, D.C., as well as in the district. And you'll see listening sessions that will be listed there. Tiffany Telegram. Go to tiffany.house.gov.
Just Google it. Just Google Tiffany and just click something. You'll find it. All right, man. Thanks so very much. Love having you on.
Hey, good to be here. Spring is coming and March Madness and all that stuff. Hope everybody's enjoying it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you've been watching Breakfast with Tiffany, a monthly live video podcast with our representative where we discuss all things going on in D.C. and the 7th Congressional District. Special thank you to our congressman for taking the time to make himself available and jumping on with us today. And of course, thank all of you for watching. Until next month, stay safe, stay positive, and as always, have a blessed day.